Okay, let's get underway. Welcome to a revitalized Marketo Engage virtual user group for EMEA. With me today, I've got Zoe Foreman, Charlie Oakham, and myself presenting this user group. So just before we get into some of the content, just to recap on some of the house rules for our user group, there's no self-promotion or pitching of any kind. Please don't contact anybody outside of this group, and anything that is shared within this group is a safe space to be shared. Please don't share it without that person's permission. And just as a reminder, we are recording today's session, so if you don't want to be recorded, you can switch your camera off, or you can drop off the call and join the recording later on once it's published online. And a vital reminder, it's great to have you on today's event, but it's important that you join our chapter for future updates. So you can scan the QR code here and join our events for the future, or go to that URL here on the screen. And we'd love to have you on future Marketo user groups here in the EMEA vMUG. So quick introductions. On the call today, we've got the Adobe champions. Zoe Foreman, Senior Marketing Operations Manager and 2 times Marketo champion, based at MSA. We've then got Charlie Oakham, Chief Marketing Technologist, Adobe Certified Master and 2 times Marketo Champion. And little old me at the end with no champion status, but I am on the Customer Advisory Board for Adobe for B2B, and I'm the CEO at JTF. Moving on to you, Charlie.
Guys, it's welcome back to the virtual European mug. It's actually, I didn't realize this, since we have not met since 2021, so it's been a 4-year hiatus, but welcome back. This group is covering the region of EMEA, but we are welcoming people from much beyond that, so welcome to everyone on the call today. Now, the point of the group, this is a community, so we are here joining together as Marketo practitioners in the space of B2B and B2C marketing. But we're here to hear about the latest insights from Marketo and Adobe. Announcements we're going to hear about Summit, but then also get to hear from experts in our spaces. So Marketo experts, marketing operation experts, marketing automation, all things marketing. So please, as James said, please join the community. You get to hear about some of the new events we're going to have over the next year. So yeah, and if you have any, obviously any ideas, any topics that you want to get covered off, please also let us know and we'll schedule them in. Now we're going to kick off with this first one, looking at the Summit, the announcements of Summit from last week. Zoe, I'll pass over to you.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Charlie. So yeah, what we want to do here is give you a taster of Adobe Summit 2025. This is a fantastic event. It's Adobe's flagship. There's 11,000 people from all over the world who attended it. And what we were able to do, we had over 300 sessions, and these were a mixture of keynotes, breakout sessions, hands-on lab, networking events, so you could meet your peers, your friends, but also you could actually get the opportunity to speak to the Adobe product teams. And what we're going to show you coming up is some of the work they've been doing, especially in Marketo. So being able to speak to these people, see the demonstrations live was absolutely amazing. So we've got a lot of innovations to come that we want to show you that have come especially from Marketo, which blew us away, and I'm sure they will for you. So it's a better understanding. We've got a bit about B2B and B2C, but Adobe really did go to town and paint the town red. From the Sphere, you can see there, to taking over the F1 experience paddock. It really was a fantastic in-person event. Yes, if you didn't make it, you can follow up and watch some of the sessions. They'll be available on demand from next week. But yeah, it was something to go. And just for those, everybody always asks, what was the swag this year? The swag was not a rucksack for the first time, but it was an Adobe hoodie, which has got a bigger logo on the back. So something different for us all, but lots and lots to take away. And we're going to try and do our best in the next 30 minutes or so, but bear with us if we've run out of time.
Thanks, Zoe. Yeah, Summit was truly impressive. And you're talking about swag. I'm wearing my Adobe t-shirt here today on Agentic AI, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. Now, one of the visions for this year's summit was really around B2B 3.0. Now, if you've been in marketing for as long as I have, you would know all of these different stages, from traditional sales-led tactics like cold calling, like direct mail, and if you, like me, have been stuffing envelopes and mail merging things, you understand what B2B 1.0 is about. Then we've shifted into 2.0, the era of the MQL and ABM platforms, really data, digital first driven marketing. It's quite a mouthful, that one, but is the space that we are in today with Marketo automation, email, and nurturing. Now, what Adobe showed us was this new era of AI-powered data orchestration and marketing. Now, that is true personalization at scale with near real-time experiences across this new idea of buying groups and connected platforms. Now, it's a completely different shift in gear. And one of the analogies that they shared with us at the event, I think it's quite relevant, so please stick with me on this one, is around the era of sat-nav and GPS. So 1.0 is a bit like that time where we all had TomToms on our dashboards, giving us a very static map of the road. 2.0 was a little bit like now, using Google Maps or Apple Maps, giving us real-time information about journeying around blockers in the road and giving us adaptive journeys. 3.0 is moving on. It's the era of automated driving, autonomous cars. And if you've caught taxis in San Francisco or had food delivered to you in London, you know all about this. It's about dynamic experiences tailored to you and delivered in lightning speed. So moving on, let's talk about then what that means. What's that new era of 3.0? It's around data orchestration. So Adobe announced this idea of this layer called the Adobe Experience Platform Agent Orchestration Layer. It's working right across all of their suite of different B2B products in areas of content, in data, and in journeys, including Marketo in that one. It's about being able to use agentic AI, so agents in AI, to not only help us generate content, but then also help us in the planning, personalization, and journey building and execution of that content in lots of different channels. Now, some of the things that we will get into in just a minute, part of the roadmap, but I just wanted to call out sort of three specific things. First is something that has just blown my mind completely, and that's being able to take static images and then turn them into HTML emails using the new email designer. Now, this is a fantastic idea, and Zoe's got a really cool example of how that was used, literally from a napkin, but it will help us, enable us to create content at speed and then enrich that with ideas around subject line testing, and with the latest integration with Adobe Express allows to also test with images too. Then the next one in this orchestration layer is we will be able and enabled to understand what the next best actions are. Now that is there's lots of sort of things to find out a little bit more about that. But what we're going to be able to do is leverage AI in the Adobe Agent Orchestration layer to understand what are the things, what are the signals, what are the behavior signals that is driving growth, driving revenue across our campaigns. And then what is the next best thing that we can serve up to someone content-wise, but then also to sales to understand whether it's a good time to book a meeting. Now, the what next? For me is journey agents. I'm going to show you in just a few moments what that looks like in Marketo in alpha stage. So not quite ready for release yet, but it looks like we'll be able to leverage a Marketo canvas and use prompting to build very simple programs, complete programs such as a webinar that includes not only the emails promoting that webinar, but then the webinar itself, and then all the smart campaigns and reports associated with it. So that is incredible. So we can come to Marketo with a campaign brief and get Marketo's journey agents to build that out for us within a canvas. So James, I've covered a little bit of some of the bits of the roadmap there, but that is only one small part. So I'm going to hand over to you to help us guide us through that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Charlie, as you mentioned, there was so much to take away from Adobe Summit in 2025. There's actually 3 roadmap sessions, one covering the whole of B2B, including the AJO stuff and the AI orchestration that you mentioned. And it was on the main stage for the very first time, which was really, really important for B2B. But actually on the screen here, we've got 2 different roadmaps, which we're going to focus in on today. One is around the email designer and the other and the broader Marketo Engage roadmap. Now on the email designer, of course, that's already available in your Marketo instance. One thing you have to be aware of is that you have to be on the Adobe Identity Management System, which can be identified either by the black bar along the top as the old version or IMS as the white bar down the left-hand side. And you need to be on the new version to get access to all of these areas. But what is important is there's a lot coming for Marketo as a platform. Just under the email designer alone, there's 4 areas of focus. User experience, allowing marketers to take advantage of core capabilities like that image to HTML and like migrating existing templates to the new email designer. Importantly, they're going to be focusing in on content. So how do we keep leveraging Gen AI in order to generate content, or utilizing some of the integrations that are available through the Adobe Experience platform? We've also got governance and approvals coming to Email Designer, so allowing you to approve emails within the tool without having to leave, and of course, keeping that brand consistency as well. And then we'll touch on later through Zoe's presentation, some of the integrations coming in order to help you really maximize email assets within Marketo Engage. Now, when we move to the right-hand side of the screen and start looking at the Marketo Engage roadmap, there's a lot coming. And again, we're going to try and touch on as much of this as we can in the next 30 minutes. But ultimately, we've got quite a lot to talk about. There's lots of infrastructure changes coming to help you better manage data within Marketo Engage. There's lots of stuff already generally available in Marketo Engage as well, which has been released this year, interactive webinar enhancements, Gen AI chat libraries, or even the demand-based integration, which is now live and available in chat. So again, we'll touch on that in a bit more detail shortly. And again, if we look at the content piece, how do we maximize assets within Marketo Engage, and what can we do with them? How do we keep our brand and assets living for longer? Now, if we dive deeper into those kind of 3 topics, data and insights was described as the electrical system behind your B2B marketing. And without it, you can't go faster, smarter, or have a self-serve infrastructure. We've got some real important releases coming, specifically around the Salesforce connector, which I'll talk to in a second, some reporting, updates, and data streams as well. We've also got some more information on the Journey Builder, which Charlie will get into a bit later in the presentation, in terms of how can we maximize these new capabilities to automate the journey development. And then again, we'll look a little bit deeper at the new email designer and the processes surrounding it. So let's just take a look at that smarter data and CRM integration. So there's a couple of key points here that I want to jump into. The first things first is we've completely had a rebuilt Salesforce connector for Marketo. 2 times faster, self-service diagnostics dashboard that's been released, and there's better security and platform capabilities. Now, what's important is this is already rolling out. So it's rolling out over the next 3 months, and you will be notified if you're getting migrated to this new sync with 2 to 3 weeks in advance. Bad news for Microsoft Dynamics fans, there's no updates coming for you at the moment, though the product team have said they're looking at and investigating how they can improve that integration. The next piece is BI reporting. This is a revitalized revenue cycle explorer, analytics, which is being pushed into production in Q2 2025. And this is allowing you to basically maximize all of the data that sits within Marketo, build your reports and visualizations, and pull them out in formats that you're familiar with working with in the business: PowerPoint, PDF, excels. Now, there's no changes required, and anybody who already has access to revenue cycle analytics will get access to this for free at no extra cost. So that's fantastic news. And for those of you who are interested in this product, I definitely recommend you talk to your solutions account managers in terms of looking at how you can get that added in. Now, there's also something, while we're just talking about reporting, which I want to mention, which is the last point on the screen, which is an incredible announcement from Adobe, which is real-time data streams. This is server-to-server, high-speed data pipeline. So if you're analyzing a huge volume of data or you want to build your own customized reports, this is the place for you to be. The fantastic thing is this will be available already right now, today, in Ultimate packages, and it will be coming later in the year to Prime packages, so H2 2025. Now, one of the wonderful things about this new availability of the data is actually it's not going to impact any of your API or quota limits. So again, if you've seen any of those challenges through custom integrations, this is going to really change the way you use the infrastructure in Marketo. And to wrap up on the data side, we've got some quick wins coming for the data management within Marketo. So we've got improved duplicate filters coming, which will allow the support of custom fields and external IDs. So you no longer have to search for your duplicates by name or email address. We're also going to have the ability to promote tokens from a local level to global level. And probably the best thing to come to Marketo in a very long time from a data management perspective, global values for pick lists. So again, being able to define those pick list values and stop any of those inconsistencies, which, let's face it, has caused us many, many sync issues over the years. So really excited for that to come to Marketo between Q2 and H2 this year. I'm going to pass over to Charlie now to give us a bit more insight into the journey orchestration and engagement.
Thanks, James. Wow, that's incredible, some of those updates. And I'm actually sat between that and hearing a little bit more about the new email designer update. So I'm going to get through this as fast as I can. So I've already touched on the Marketo Journey Canvas. You can sort of see here in these sort of snapped screenshots that it looks fantastic. And again, as James said, though, it all depends on you being on the new Adobe Identity Management System, IMS. So if you're not on that already, please do reach out to Adobe, reach out to your account manager and support, and see if you can get that process started as soon as possible, because you really want to see some of these updates. Now, I hinted about that canvas earlier, and let me just dive straight into it. So the new Marketo Journey Canvas is designed to make our lives a lot simpler. Now, for those who love that view of the stacked smart campaigns, this is going to completely change the way you work. So traditionally, it's all logic-based, and you have your flow steps. What this is a significant leap forwards from the static visualizer that was released last year. But with one difference, it's going to allow you to build in lots of new visualizations. So for example, you'll be able to pull in your smart lists, create them from this view, be able to grab audiences from all over Marketo. It's going to allow you to pull in assets, but then crucially, build in different branching logic and then merge those. So you'll be able to, in one view, build an entire intelligent program in the canvas. Now, coming later in the year, we're going to see that then supercharged with the release of an AI agent for this canvas. It's going to be then, you're going to be able to sort of come to this with half a brief, use a prompt, and then allow Marketo to start building out that campaign for you. So for example, with a webinar, you could say something along the lines of, build me a webinar on this particular subject with these particular emails leading up to it. And then also send me an email afterwards as a follow-up. And that prompt, and as we saw actually live on stage at Adobe Summit, will then build out the entire workflow for you. So it's going to change fundamentally how we work. Now, moving on to interactive webinars. It'd be great to sort of see or get a show of hands of those number of people that actually use interactive webinars, because announced, I think it was again last year, interactive webinars is such a leap forwards for those who are traditionally use other webinar partners. Interactive webinars is integrated and for free on Select in Marketo. But announced at Adobe Summit last week are some huge updates for it. First of all, brand customizations. So this is going to allow you to upload your brand guidelines, upload your images and your colors, and then completely brand the experience from the login screen to the screen that you see when the presenters are there. You're going to get an AI assistant for the hosts. So how often do we, on the back end of a website, back end of a webinar, where they're scrabbling around looking to how to do something, bring in slides, bring in questions, we're going to get an AI assistant to help us with that. An AI assistant is going to help us give us the answers that we need. Where can I find this? Or point us towards documentation that we can quickly follow to resolve a problem that's on the webinar. So that's going to be huge for us hosts. Next, we're going to see a lot more in terms of the some of the features that we already see. So at the moment, we can get chapters being created for us in interactive webinars, but we're also going to get Gen AI summaries of the presentations as well, which is going to be huge. And they're going to be able to they announced they're going to take it a step further with blog content as well. So this is where the transcript of the webinar is going to be then processed by an AI agent within Adobe, and then give you then content back in terms of a blog. Now, if you're like me, I never like to start with a blank sheet of paper. It's always difficult to start that way. What they're going to provide us at the end of the webinar is then that structure for a blog. We'll be able to take that, tailor it, and then publish it in no time at all. It's going to save us time. It's going to get us immediately there, engaged with the people after the webinar, and it's going to give us a lot more of an edge over any other sort of platform. And then the last announcement for interactive webinars is the scheduled Simulive automation. Now, for some Simulive platforms, it requires you still to be on the webinar, still somebody there to be on the call. But with scheduled Simulive Live, announced last week at Summit, it means that you can run that without needing to be on that webinar at all. Now, you can be there to answer questions and to see how it's running or be part of it, but it's going to be completely automated. Now, that's going to be a fantastic resource for those people or for those teams that are one-man bands or a small sort of marketing ops team. It's going to enable them to do a lot more with less. And finally, for those who are using dynamic chat, I think that's a fantastic tool for Marketo. There was announced last week an integration to demand base. Now, for marketers, this means that we will be able to see who is landing on our website, be able to see what companies and accounts are engaging in our chats. It allows us to understand very quickly how and who and how we can change our messaging and who in terms of our ICP and our accounts are engaging with us. And crucially for sales, for live chat, they can get all of that information on the person that they are speaking to, which is incredible in terms of enrichment. It allows that salesperson or that SDR or BDR to be able to know exactly the industry sector and company that that person is coming from. So incredible updates. Now, I said I was in between sort of data orchestration and the email designer. So I'm going to hand over to Zoe, and she's going to tell you a lot more about the new announcements around the new email designer in Marketo.
Come on over. Okay, Marketo email designer updates. This was the most exciting part for me. I know we all know and love the old Marketo emails, and we've been through a few evolutions, but it really was starting to look a little tired and dated. And in the community, there was questions about what is Marketo doing to enhance Marketo. Well, we found out, like I say, we're on 20 new features that are coming for Marketo. It was, I mean, a lot of us just sat at the end of the presentations and were just like, wow, what have we just seen? It's taken us a while to digest it. So I'm not going to do it all justice in this these next couple of slides, but what we can do is it's something we can pick up going forward. So really, what has Adobe done? They've made the email designer. It's much more of a drag edit, and basically it's a bit like a WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get, but it's going to allow you to design emails faster, personalize better, and also stay on brand. So it's a lot about compliance and guardrails and making sure that the right people have the right controls and roles, and make sure that somebody doesn't turn your logo or your call to action button from green to pink just because they think they like to. So those safety rails are being put in there. The first thing that really sort of blew our minds was this image to HTML. We saw a live demo of this, and this is literally was a scribble on the back of a napkin, scribbled on a scrap piece of paper. And we've all been there. You're sort of your boss or your CMO or even the sales director, or somebody comes to you and says, "Can you create this?" And they give you a piece of paper, and you go, "What am I meant to do with that?" You can now take that piece of paper, you can take a photo of it, and you can put it into Marketo, and it will create that framework. It'll set out your logo, your title, your content, your call to action buttons, the links. So you've basically got something to start from. You can then take that HTML from your scrappy image, and you can put it into the converter. So you can then bring it into your brand guidelines. So you'll get that format, you'll get the right fonts, the right size call to action buttons, the right structure. You'll have everything there, and you really will have a sort of responsive email template that you can take. But again, you can't just go off into the Wild West and your designer chooses to do something different. It will always bring it back to that compliance. To get this is one feature and that's the one that sort of I really sort of took away as probably my top new feature. But there's still a lot more that are being put into the email designer. As Charlie and James have said, you do need IMS migration for this. So there's a lot of carrots being dangled here, and these are great, but you need to go through that process. I've put in the chat, there's a webinar on that I did on Deep Dive. So if anybody's got any questions or you're stuck, please give me a message, and I'll try and help you with that IMS migration. But again, Gen AI, that was a key feature. It isn't just a buzzword anymore. Gen AI is becoming reality in our day-to-day use of these tools. So within Marketo, the email editor, this is about, it's generating your copy, helping your images. So the images you can get from Firefly, and you can bring in the copy. It can help you rewrite your header, your subject line, your content, and then you can use these for A/B testing. You can set the tone. So if you're writing an email and it's going to go out to your business-to-business audience, you can then tweak it and get Gen AI to rewrite it for your B2C business. So it really is bringing that whole chat GPT and Firefly for images all into one. It will retain, again, privacy and compliance. It will retain within your instance. It is not going to share this beyond. So if I did something in my instance, for example, Charlie's not going to be able to see what my content or my images are. So it is still proprietary to your instance and who created it. So there's a lot of legal stuff behind this, but and again, it's all just to protect us, but allow us to be more creative and test and really push the boundaries. Handlebar scripting is coming in, so that's so again simpler to use than previous velocity scripting and things like that. I've said quite a bit about the user permissions and brand kits. So these can be set at global or local levels within your company. So, and again, it's roles, permissions, it's guardrails, it's ensuring that you keep on brand. So whether you're in America, Europe, or Australia, that your company communication is going to be consistent across the board. Obviously, you can have your local local elements in there. So there's things that are coming up, like there's slightly new changes. So something like snippets, they're going to be called fragments. You'll also have what we call structures and containers in the new email editor. They're the same but different. It's a slightly different vocabulary, but they're the new names, new features, but they will allow you to do so much more. It doesn't take long to get used to them. Myself and I think Charlie and a few others, we were on the alpha and the beta testing of these, and even the evolution over the last 6 months has been amazing. Charlie mentioned about the content approval, the workflow processes. That's going to come directly into to Marketo. So you don't need to be sending emails or jumping onto Teams or Slack and you're communicating with 3 or 4 different people. All your stakeholders and approvers can see everything in the journey and make those approvals, comments or changes within Marketo. So you're not having to jump across different tools and platforms. There was a question earlier about segmentation, and this is probably one of the, apart from the image to HTML, this is a great one, especially for us in Europe or EMEA. So the dynamic content is going to allow multiple segmentation. So you're going to get much better personalization. So instead of at the moment, say, choosing a region or choosing a language, you can choose multiple segmentation. So whatever you've got set up, in your 20 segmentations or whatever, you'll be able to layer them up. So it's a bit like bringing segmentation into a smart list, but you really can get that hyper personalization. So based on language, based on product, and it really is going to be quite exciting to sort of see that in action. Integrators, I'm obviously getting pushed on here. We're running out of time, so there will be the AM connector, so that will link Adobe Express, which you may have on your phones and things like that. That will come into Marketo, so full editing in apps on enterprise. So that's where you want to clean up an image a bit more than your cropping and editing, but you can actually change text and everything you can do on the Adobe Express, you'll be able to do in Marketo in the assets there. Gen Studio, that's going to be powering the AI workflows. Again, we talked about content. Litmus integration. So again, in-platform rendering test. So you can check what it looks like on a desktop, on a mobile, on an Android and an iOS. So if you use Litmus or Email on Acid or something separate, and you've had that as a separate tool, that is going to be coming into Marketo. So again, you don't need to be jumping tabs, jumping browsers, whatever. You can do it all in Marketo. And then same again with spam assassination. That's going to be integrated. And again, that we mentioned earlier, I think it was Charlie mentioned about data duplications, deduplication. So these are all going to help you build your audience, build your content, and just work faster, smarter, and be a lot more personalized. So you're getting that right content out to your audience at the right time. Right, next one.
And breathe. I mean, this is probably giving you guys a sense of how crazy it is in the summit. And I was gutted. I actually booked a flight back the day earlier going, the last day is usually rubbish. And I was gutted that I was leaving early, although the Heathrow fire maybe made things a little bit different. But ultimately, you can see there was so much. And I definitely recommend that you go to summit.adobe.com, watch some of the free updates that are available. There is so much content to get through. I mean, we're still going back through it right now and go, I missed that. Why did I not pay any attention to that? So definitely go and have a look. And of course, one of the big questions, right, when we talk about integrations as well, there is always associated costs, to answer Kate's question in the chat there. So there is expectation that there will be a cost involved in activating things like Litmus or Adobe Express, advanced versions. So it's always worth a conversation. Of course, it's one of the parts that's toughest about working with Adobe, right? It's just trying to get a clear answer on price, because everything depends on what you already have access to. So definitely worth chatting to your reps. And just as we open up for questions, don't forget to drop any reviews that you can for Adobe Marketo on Trust Radius or G2, if you feel the desire to. And I think you get a reward for it if you do so many of them. So definitely go and have a shot at that. But any questions feel free to come off your microphone or stick your hand up, whatever's good.
Or drop it in the chat as well if you want.
Or drop it in the chat, yeah. I know there's been a busy chat on this call as well. So, and if there's no question, we've blown you away with too much information.
I can surface one from the chat actually from Anthony here. So will responsive emails be compatible with Microsoft Outlook? In particular, dark mode issues across email clients. We've struggled to keep up with them consistently across all devices. So do you want to jump into that one? I can add to it.
Yeah, happy to. So I think Arjun made a brilliant comment on the chat, right? Which is the new email designer, I need to get in the habit of saying designer, not editor, is actually pretty cool because it comes with a lot of stuff already out the box. And because they're going to be building the brand kits around the templates themselves, there won't be that much flexibility for it to go wrong, if that makes sense. You've obviously then got the integration with the likes of Litmus that's going to be built into the product, where you can quickly assess whether your email works or not. So the new email designer is streets and streets ahead. As I mentioned also in the chat message, a couple of things that I tend to look at on dark mode. Any images with white backgrounds rather than transparent backgrounds, they always render badly, especially logos for social platforms because they come usually with a square background. So definitely have a look at those. And the other thing is making sure that your color palette has the dark mode enabled within your template. So speak to your consultancy or your developer to make sure that you've got a dark mode palette within your email template.
And also to that, James, there's one thing I've had is things like the call to action button. We've had rounded lozenge call to action button. Outlook has always just squared everything off, which makes it look old-fashioned and back to where we were sort of 4 or 5 years ago. Again, testing that, it is your design and your templates are certainly being retained. Just on that again, so if people have got templates already set up, you do not need to pay for them to be set up again. You can basically export your existing templates, take them into the new email editor, and you can continue as you are with the same design style and everything. So yes, whilst Outlook hasn't become more user-friendly with Marketo, Marketo has found ways to be more friendly with Outlook, we shall say, in terms of retaining your design and style.
And let me throw one more thing into there. So we're all in EMEA here, and we are obviously soon to be seeing the Accessibility Act, the European Accessibility Act here, which is going to affect obviously our landing pages and website pages. But then what I'm feeling from Summit is Adobe's acknowledgement that obviously we need to tackle accessibility in emails too. For me, importantly, the inclusion of Litmus and their tools, looking at accessibility, how emails render across not only different clients, but then also what it looks like to someone with accessibility issues around seeing colors, in seeing different sort of font sizes or how complex the content is. It's great. It's going to give us the ability to actually get ahead of those and actually create emails that are accessible for all. So really welcome a lot of those new integrations into Marketo. If you would like to come off mic, I think you can on this call and ask any questions. Please do let us know. If not, drop any into the chat.
There's a couple more that have appeared, and I think a couple of conversation points have come up through in the chat whilst we're going through these updates. We know we've been bombing through trying to get everything we possibly can squeezed into 45 minutes, and it's been great to have your time to go through it. We've got the potential to run a deep dive on IMS to help you guys get migrated over to take advantage of all of these great functionalities. We've obviously got some requests around interactive webinars, kind of how to get the best out of it, I think would be really useful. Another deep dive on the email designer soon also is another question that come up. And then there's a couple of questions in here as well. So Luke has asked, Marketo is super focused on emails. Of course, we can integrate other channels through self-service flow steps and webhooks, etc., but they're pretty limited. Any talk of Marketo being able to activate more channels out of the box? And just thinking, if the agents are only building email workflows, there is a lot left on the table. With Gen AI, we are able to far easier activate across all channels with much less effort. Charlie, do you want to go for that? Because I know you're a big fan of multi-channel.
Yeah, and was that from Luke? Great question, Luke. Well, the reason we buy or have bought Marketo is because it can sit at the center of all of our marketing technology. It can integrate with practically anything. I love the API. I love self-service flow steps. There was nothing new about that announced at Summit. You know, the announcements around the AI agents was really about going back to that idea of journey orchestration from your data and in your content. It's not replacing a lot of the incredible use cases we're seeing of AI in Marketo, which is fantastic. The API is still living and breathing. One of the things that I also loved was data streams, which is not going to impact on your API call. So if you are using AI with Marketo and you're seeing your APIs just drop and drop and drop, or you're extracting data out of Marketo, that's going to enable you to do a lot more with it. So look, the roadmap this year is absolutely huge. The challenge, I think, back to Marketo and Adobe is, what is next year's roadmap going to look like? Are we going to get 19, 20, 25 new announcements? So it'd be good to sort of keep obviously abreast of that, and to see you all next year at Summit.
Yeah, and then there's one last question that's come in from Matthew. What do we need in place to leverage the new email designer in the next 90 days from a design studio or Marketo asset perspective? Will all current assets be available to use in the new email designer? So Zoe, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, so everything you've got in your design studio, all your assets, all your images, they will all be visible. If you have migrated, you will see the new email template and new email designer. So if you go into those, if you have migrated, yes, absolutely, you can see your existing templates, assets, and everything. So once you're migrated, it'll be there. So yeah, and you can run both the existing and the new email designer in parallel. You don't need to make the swap immediately to the new. You can work in parallel for probably the next year, as Adobe is saying. So there's no rush to migrate. So learn about the new one, set it up. But again, you can use your existing templates. You can do a HTML converter, bring them into the new one. So again, you can be up and running. Never mind in 90 days, you can be up and running in I'd say 90 seconds, but it depends how quick your broadband is.
And Russell kindly notes for us all, Russell Henley, if you've never met him, I'm sure most of you have, older than Marketo, right, Russell? But ultimately, Russell kindly reminds us all that all of the core features that are in AJO B2B are migrating into Marketo and will be available. One of the big messages that came out, and this touches on Yoke's question as well, was how do we line up AJO B2B with Marketo? What is the scenario here? What are we working with? Ultimately, we're going to get the power of the Adobe Experience Platform when you migrate to the IMS, which is that single sign-on, which we'll spend a bit more time on in another session. And that basically gives you access to the power of the Adobe platform. So from an integrations perspective, from an audience development perspective, we then get to take advantage of the broader Adobe technology stack. And from what we saw at Summit, all of these new capabilities are only possible by using that really powerful technology, which has fueled a lot of B2C campaigns over the last decade, but importantly is now starting to fuel B2B campaigns. The two platforms, AJO B2B and Marketo, sit side by side. So if you're starting from the very beginning, you would start with Marketo, of course, because you're going to get leads through the door, lead generation, acquisition, and nurturing. And then if you want to get into account-based marketing, AJO is your place to be. Now, there was a couple other comments around multi-channel as well that I kind of weaved into some conversation with the product guys. And again, the Adobe Experience Platform has a lot of great native connectors through CDP in order to activate things like SMS, WhatsApp, WeChat, etc. So if you're working on a global scale, again, you might be looking at those individual channels as well. AJO B2B is a paid platform, so it's another piece of technology that sticks into the whole Adobe Experience Cloud, but it's some great capabilities that are available in that journey orchestration as well. And a lot of the AI capabilities are coming first to AJO before they will arrive in Marketo, just because of the power and speed that is available through that Adobe Experience platform. I appreciate we've run out of time. We're 5 minutes over. It's been great to have you all on our refreshed and revitalized, reinvigorated, re-energized virtual MUG for EMEA. We're going to be planning to run these every couple of months. So do watch out for the next invite. Share it with your friends and colleagues, lovers, whatever you want. Invite them along. We're up for a conversation about B2B marketing. And again,
And also,
questions?
sorry. No, I was also, and please send us the topics that you really want us to discuss and go into more detail. Today has been a flash introduction. So again, we will go back and we can revisit some of these in much more depth and detail. So please just let us know what you want us to talk about next. And we will also bring in other experts. So you don't just have the three of us, but we'll obviously host it, but we'll bring in other experts and people as well. And
you stole the words out of my mouth. There you go. So send us all the topics, and if you want to send us a private message, find us on LinkedIn, and we'll be able to organise any other topics or session or point you in the right direction, because sometimes it's hard to find the right information. So just let us know if you need any help. And thank you very much for joining.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody. Bye for now.